This is not a drill. I think I found Dani. And if you're confused right now, that's completely fine, because a couple of years ago, I was confused myself. A few years back, I made a video about Dani, the game dev YouTuber who was behind Crab Game, Muck, and the highly anticipated Karlson. And how he seemed to just vanish out of thin air. No goodbye, no explanation, just gone. At the time, theories were everywhere. Some people thought he quit YouTube entirely. Others believed that something serious happened behind the scenes and were worried about his physical health. On top of that, some people even thought Karlson, a game that should come second to the YouTuber, was never going to release. Dani had disappeared, taking Karlson along with him. So I decided to actually look. I went through old Discord messages, archived community posts, comments, and deleted replies. Anything that I could find that might offer some insight into really what's going on. And the conclusion that I reached back then was simple. He was burnt out and overwhelmed by pressure. He was burnt out from expectations that grew faster than he'd ever planned for. And more importantly, he was focused on finishing Karlson before returning to YouTube. Now, was I right about the timing? Nope, not at all. I was absolutely wrong. But I was right about one thing. Dani came back. Just not in the way we were expecting. Before I go any further, I want to make one thing very clear. I could be completely wrong about everything I'm saying in this video. And later, I'm going to even explain why I could be wrong. Why this entire theory could just fall apart. This is just me providing you the evidence and asking, do you guys think this is just a coincidence? Do you think that this is intentional, or is it something a little bit in between? To understand why this theory exists, we need to rewind. Back in October of 2018, Dani exploded on YouTube. His game devlogs were loved by many. His videos were fast, chaotic, funny, and genuinely impressive from a development standpoint. He didn't just show finished games, he showed the process behind them, the frustration, the jokes, the personality behind all of them. And that's what made people stick around. Over time, he released games like Muck and Crab Game, both of which had a massive overnight success. And all the while, he was publicly working on Karlson, a project that grew bigger than he could ever expect. Then, by January of 2022, everything stopped. No uploads, no devlogs, no updates, and no "I'll be back soon." Just silence. Behind the scenes, Dani was dealing with immense burnout, constant pressure to deliver, and even serious threats from parts of the community that felt entitled to updates and progress.
Yeah, Ninja Muffin 99. Karlson was announced 2.3 years ago. Is it really that long ago? That's kind of crazy. But yeah, I guess I should talk about Karlson for a bit, because I'm getting a lot of angry emails and a lot of angry people coming after me because I'm not making devlogs or giving updates on Karlson.
At the time, I explained why everything made sense. For a long time, it felt like that was simply the end of the story, until recently. Because not too long ago, I stumbled across a YouTube channel called Vedinad. Let me correct myself. I got a comment on a recent short that I made that was just a re-upload of one of my old videos. And he asked, hey, isn't Vedinad the same creator behind Megabonk? So I looked into him, another game dev channel with another creator working on indie style projects, and almost immediately something felt off. It felt off in a familiar way.
But I want to do thousands of them.
Instead of throwing everything at you at once, I'm going to break this down carefully, because this theory only works when you look at each piece individually. Then take a step back to look at the full picture. Let's start with the most surface level detail. The channel is called Vedinad. At first glance, that doesn't mean anything, but if you flip it around, V-E-D-I-N-A-D. Backwards, it spells D-A-N-I-D-E-V. Danidev, the exact same YouTube handle that Dani has. On its own, this provides absolutely no proof. But if you watch Dani long enough, you know that he loves small details and subtle references that aren't meant to be obvious unless you're paying attention. This wouldn't be out of character for him, but that name alone isn't enough to build my entire theory on, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. It sits in that uncomfortable middle ground, too specifics to feel completely random, yet subtle enough to deny it entirely. Next, let's talk about thumbnails. To keep this fair, I'm only going to be comparing one thumbnail from each channel, Dani's last upload and Vedinad's most recent upload. At a glance, sure, blue backgrounds are common, but when you start stacking details, the similarities add up fast. Both thumbnails have a blue background, use motion lines. Actually, they just don't both use motion lines. They use the exact same motion lines to suggest movement and energy. Both rely on extremely similar color palettes, and both outline their characters in white. And even the font choices matches what Dani constantly uses across his channel. Individually, none of these details are groundbreaking, but together they form a pattern. And patterns are what investigations are built on. But these visuals aren't the only part of the equation, because audio is where things get even more uncomfortable. I'm going to play two audio clips for you. One of them is Dani, and the other is Vedinad. Listen to both of them very closely, because I want you to tell me which one you think is Dani and which one you think is Vedinad.
Walls. Wait, what? While I was working on the enemies, I realized that you can just camp on walls and enemies get stuck.
So now that I've updated the game and ended racism, it's time for me to take a well-deserved break and relax a little bit.
To be completely honest, if you watched Dani's videos for years and watched one of his more recent ones, you can tell that audio clip number 1 is not Dani, it's Vedinad. But here's the thing, it's very interesting. The pacing of words, the cadence, the sentence structure, the emphasis on certain syllables are all extremely similar. Not kind of similar, uncomfortably close. The difference is subtle. The best way I can describe it is that it sounds like Dani's voice, but slightly filtered. Not enough to sound artificial or robotic, but just enough to sound slightly different. Almost like a voice changer or a subtle AI-assisted pitch modification, designed to specifically avoid immediate recognition. But then there's the editing, the visual pacing, the timing of the jokes, and the way that the cuts are made to emphasize humor feels almost identical to Dani's older videos. Familiar in a way that is hard to explain unless you have watched Dani's content. When I say watched, I mean meticulously watched over and over again. At this point, it's very easy to jump to a conclusion. That's not what this video is about. I think I found Dani. But before I go any further, I want to discuss where are all the holes in this argument, because that side also deserves just as much attention. Starting again with the name. Yes, Vedinad is Danidev spelled backwards, but that could be an intentional bait. A random creator could have easily reversed Dani's handle to start speculation and attention. That alone doesn't prove the identity. Next, thumbnails. Thumbnails are the same story. Dani's style is iconic, but it's also very simple. A blue background with a cartoonish character with a white outline are all elements that are very easy to replicate, especially if the goal is to invoke nostalgia or familiarity. The audio complicates things even further. While it could be Dani masking his voice, it could just easily be someone using AI trained on Dani's old videos, or a subtle voice changer to bring the natural voice closer to his. Same evidence supports two completely different sides of the same explanation. Editing isn't DNA. It can be studied, it can be learned, it can be replicated, especially when it's recognizable as Dani's. So am I saying Vedinad is Dani? Yes? No? Maybe? I don't know. But what I am saying is that there are too many coincidences here to ignore. Whether this is Dani experimenting quietly, someone intentionally baiting the internet, or something else entirely, one thing is undeniable, that Dani's influence never left YouTube. And if this really is him, maybe this is exactly how he wanted to come back. Without pressure, without expectations, and without millions of eyes watching his every move. So now I want to hear what you think. Is Vedinad Dani, or am I reaching? Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to watch another video, click the video on the left. That's going to be my last upload. And if you want to subscribe, the subscribe button's on screen on the right. Have a great day, and peace!